Howdy folks, welcome to the brewery. Brew day. Just cracking myself a beer. I've just been playing grown-ups and mowing the lawn. I'm going to sit down and have a beer and get on with this brew day. I'm committing the cardinal sin. I've left the glass in the freezer and she's good and frosty. So to all those people who want to say don't drink your beer from a frosted glass, get that up here. Well, we've got a frothy bastard anyway. But anyway, that's not what we're here for. So let's talk about today's brew. I'm doing the Loaded Dog Lager, the 2021 version of the Loaded Dog. I'll just bring it up here so we can go through the recipe because I've changed it just a little bit this year. I've got water on. I'm doing the Minnow 50 litre brew kettle. I'm doing a 23 litre batch. We're going to split that, but I'm doing a full size batch. So full brew in the bag. Again, just because I just haven't got myself quite set up to run this properly. I was going to run it off this into the kettle, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, so you see I've got water in the pot, 32 litres, ready to start off with. Now, before we go any further, big shout out to Little John's patrons. Guys, thank you for your support, as always. If you're interested in Patreon, have a look down the bottom, the link's down there. Jump on, see what it's all about. Might be just your kind of thing. Other than that, hit the subscribe button if you aren't subscribed. If you are subscribed, thank you very much. And if you're here watching and you like what's going on, give us a thumbs up. All keeps the channel going. So, let me find our recipe. Loaded Dog 2021, here we go. Full batch, I'm going to split it two ways, and we'll talk a little bit soon about how I'm going to be splitting it. So pretty much full volume brew in the bag, with just enough water left over to do a rinse on the grain bag at the end. I will give this a couple of stirs as we go through and keep make sure it's getting good contact with the water, and make sure we're getting it right through the whole grain and all that sort of stuff. Right now, the water's got a little bit warmer than I wanted. It's heated up to nearly 80 degrees. I'm just letting it come back to temp while we get sorted here. I've added to the water some calcium sorbate, a little bit of sodium metabisulfate, and that's both to clear off any chlorine or chloramine in the water to get us back to a cleanish base. And I've also added a couple of ml of lactic to that. Just to bring the pH down to a level I like. As this is coming to temp, so while it's doing that, I'm going to get my salts measured up, and there's not a lot going in here, but I want to work on getting a good bitter bite on this beer. If anything, the Loaded Dog of the last couple of years has been, the only place it really falls down is just that not quite having a good solid bitter edge to it. It's always had a good malt presence and a nice hop flavour, but it just hasn't had that, good solid upfront edge. But I've never actually played with the water salts on it before. This is the first time. And I said, now I'm actually bothered and got me bloody shit together, and I can actually know what I'm bloody got some concept of what I'm doing, and worked out where I need to be working on different brews. That's gonna hopefully do good things for this brew. So I'm just going for just a little bit of Epsom salt, a bit of magnesium. And that's just to bring that level up to where I need to, just to level things out a little bit. The main one we're looking at for this is the gypsum. Calcium sulfate. And I'm giving this probably a little bit more than I do on most brews. And again, that's because I want to get this nice, dry, bitter, bitey hop edge going on. And this will certainly make that stand out a little more. Now, I've taken the mineral addition, the total number, well, numbers are sort of a sit between a classic American Pilsner and a Bohemian Pilsner. So it's not the full dryness of the American style, but not getting as much body as the Bohemian does. So on Brew Farmer there is no profile for an Australian style lager, and that's what I'm trying to brew. So I'll split the difference to some degree. So let's we'll get it in. Okay, so water's still sitting about 72, 73 degrees at the moment. Let's have a quick chat about the main components of the beer, the grain, and how the mash is going to look. So I'm going for a target original gravity of 1043. Mash temperature of 65 degrees for 60 minutes, because I'm looking for something that's going to be reasonably fermentable. So our malts are 3.7 kilos of Gladfield light lager malt. $250 grams of Carahel. It's especially I use in all my Australian lagers. I find it gives the nicest character. It gives you a little bit of extra malt depth and interest without getting into a sweet category. It also has a little bit of that earthiness that goes with the Aussie style. And this year I've just put something, I'm throwing in 100 grams of crystal malt. And the main reason being I've got no Munich or Carahel Munich 1. I'd normally throw a bit of Munich in just to bring up the colour a little bit, and also to get a little bit of extra malt depth. No Munich, no Carahel. I've got Carahel Munich 2, but it's a little bit too deep for what I want for this. That will produce too much toffee, and I don't want toffee. So that's where the grain are, and I'll be mashing with that. We'll do 40 minutes at the 65, and then I will raise that to 72. No, I'll raise it to 75 for 20 minutes, then pull the bag, drain, rinse and go to a boil. And once that boils on, we'll come back, we'll talk about hops. Righto, grains are milled. We're at 68 degrees, which is about the perfect spot so I can get a 65-degree mash in. Get the bag in. Wind the clips. Dial this in place while we get the grain in. Get the lot in. I'm not worrying about rice hulls. As I said before, I'll just give this a stir about every 15 minutes and keep an eye on the temperature, because I've been a good boy, gone out, as I said, played grown-ups, got my jobs done. Got a later start today than normal, but I've got all afternoon. I'm going to just hang about here out in the garage into the brewery, and I can play brewer for the afternoon, so no problem doing that. So because I'm not resurfing, I don't need the rice hulls. So that's in. Get some clips off because we don't need them now. Lid on. That's sitting on 66 degrees, so I'm very happy with that. Righto, mash is complete, so we're in 40 minutes at 65 degrees. We then raised it to 75 where it sat for 20 minutes, and it's held reasonably well, so I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to pull the bag, let it drain before we run a bit of sparge water through it. The reef wrap towards the end of the mash sort of indicated we're going along alright, we're getting good extraction, so you can probably hear in the background I've got the jug coming to a boil. Just one jug of the boiling water, which I'll run through this just to rinse. We'll let that sit for the minute while the jug finishes off. Alright, so we've got the kettle of water just to rinse this. Well, I'm just going to leave that to finish straining. I've got the element back on, coming to a boil. So if you'd like to wander over the table, we'll sit down and have a chat about the hops. Rightio. So that's coming to a boil. Now I've broken second rule for the day. Number one was that bloody frosty glass. Mind you, that beer was quite tasty. That was the all extract Sequoia brew. Drinking quite nicely, but rule number two, it's well and truly broken. This is beer number 2 prior to the first hop edition. So, and that is unusual for me. As I said, normally I'm mashing well before lunch. Sort of, it's normally morning tea time, lunchish, this sort of time of the day. So, usually not looking for a beer. Right now we're at it's 20 to 4 in the afternoon. So a lot later than normal. So we're on to the beer. And in this case, it's the Patreon rest of the month from September, which is a Christmas pale ale. I guess the last bottle I've got floating around. Not making Christmas around here, that's for sure. Anyway, hops for this fella. Normally I'd use Pride of Ringwood. I've got Pride of Ringwood in the fridge, but for this fella I'm stepping up into the modern age. I'm using Supeer Pride. These have come from our good mate Kevy Bristol up there at the Hopping Mechanism, and I've got myself just a small bag, so I thought I might as well use some. Now, fuck knows what's in this bloody bag, but it's a decent sized bloody bag. Let's have a look. 4,000 tonnes. About 300 grams there. God knows I'm going to with 300 grams of bloody Supeer Pride. Someone might get this in the bloody Patreon drawer, or some of it. But I will be using a fair chunk of it in this brew. I will be doing a 60-minute edition of the 10 gram edition, which is going to give me 18 IBU. I may actually make it 11. This is 2020 crop, so just to allow for a little bit of degradation. It's been kept in the freezer. It's vacuum sealed, but obviously didn't. Occasionally the old vacuum seal doesn't actually get doesn't vacuum properly. But our is right, so 11 grams of that at 60 minutes. Like I said, about 18 IBU. Then there'll be another 6 grams at 10 minutes, which is going to give me another 4 IBU. So picking up 22 IBU, and that's the number I always use with the loaded dog, 18 and 4, for a total of 22 IBU. It's a level I like. It's a little bit more IBU than most Aussie lagers, mega swill are. Commercially, they generally run more like 15 to 18. So it's not far over that, but just to give it a little bit more. But what I have found, and again going back to what I was saying earlier, with previous batches, we're not having any mineral additions. The upfront hop bite has not quite been as noticeable. So I think that's part of that. I think had that, with that being done, I think the hop's going to come up a little bit more. So this may end up maybe a little bit too high, but it's certainly not at the point where it's going to be a problem. It's not going to be like a crazy bit of beer, even if we do get that bit more from having those mineral additions in there. it's a handful of IBU at the end of the day, so it's not going to make too much difference. But I think it will just go alright. So, never used the Supeer Pride before. It is going to be a little bit slightly different than the Pride of Ringwood, which normally gives us, you know, a very definite earthy, dirty underlying taste from the hops. The Supeer Pride doesn't quite have that same level of earth and dirt, but should have a fairly similar bitterness intensity. So that's where we're going. So I'm going to rip into this. I'm going to weigh up a couple of small amounts, and we'll get them in. Actually, I've got here a 60-minute boil, but it's going to be a 90-minute boil. Given that this is almost all Pilsener, 80, you know, well over 80% of the grain bill, I am going to boil for 90 minutes, and just to ensure we're not getting any DMS into the brew. I've not used glad filled in a high proportion with the Pilsener malt as yet, or the lager malt, but I have seen it reported quite a bit that the glad filled malt is not as modified as some other maltsters, which means there's a very good chance that those precursors are still within the malt and have not been kilned out, which means 60-minute boil is potentially taking a risk of getting that DMS and those nasty bloody flavours that go with it. So I don't want that. So for the sake of 30 minutes and an extra 15 cents of electricity, let's make sure we're not getting any. So 90-minute boil. First edition will be 60 minutes, then 10 minutes. Then we'll knock the power out, and we'll chill. Come back and look at that. We'll drop some hops in between. You'll see a couple of exciting shots of that. And we'll come back and we'll talk about numbers, yeast, targets, things like that. See you then. Now, haven't mentioned this earlier. 400 grams of dextrose. This is not normally something I add into the loaded dog, but this year I am just trying to get the body down a little bit. It's normally quite full bodied, and this year I just want to try and get it just a little lighter, and that's quite that'll do me. And the boil is on. "60-minute edition, 11 grams of Supeer Pride." Right, 10-minute edition going in. Chiller's been in for about 10 minutes, just sterilise and whatnot. Half a whirl flock and a bit of the muck was left in the bag. Righto folks, we are in the fermenters. Transferred over. I added 1 litre into each fermenter of just some pure reverse osmosis water to top up for the 2 litres that we missed early on. I've got 11 and a tad litres in both fermenters. I was aiming for 23 all up, so we're in the mark. I probably could have dragged another half a litre out of the boil kettle, but it was starting to bring a little bit of crud with it, so I've left it behind. So I'm just going to get a sample on these. Now you saw good splashing, and I got the spoon and I was splashing as they were topping up. Yeah, let's get ourselves a hydro reading and a nice colour. Very happy with that. It's possibly a little bit lighter than normal, as I said, but that's not to be expected with the addition of the dextrose, which wasn't part of the normal loaded dog. So we've got the bloody thing will face. It's like Murphy's Law, isn't it? Yeah, something you need to read, and it's always going to face the other way to you. That looks to be 1048, which is bang on where we're looking for. No, we're looking for 1043. Okay, original gravity we're looking for 1043, adjusted out to 1048 after the post-boil numbers. So it would appear that we've continued on that path. So that's going to make us a bit stronger than I would have really liked. I was looking for about 4.7%. It's telling me going to get 5.3. It's a little more than I'd like, but I don't have any extra water to add to this. We'll go with it. We'll go with it. Might even be 1046. So just that'll bring us down to 5.1. That's if we go. That's going to the keg. Water. And adding some water at this point is probably not going to really make a hell of a lot of difference. So that means the efficiency's been a little bit higher. Again, I had it set at 70, and this is the actual first full batch I've done since I've really started pinging in that the pH and the minerals, which has gotten me better efficiency. And I certainly am getting better efficiency out of this nano pot than I was out of the Brew, Robo Brew, out of the Brewzilla. Has picked up a few points, so I'm estimating we probably with 70, maybe 72% efficiency brew house on this batch. Okay, yeah, that's nice. There's a little bit of hoppy bitter there, so I think it's going to be nicely adequate. So, yeast. Normally I would do a Danish type of yeast on the loaded dog, or I have used Rocky Mountain with success, but I don't have any of them available at the moment. And the only actual lager yeast I've got floating around is 3470. So I took a slurry from the recent batch. I can't think which batch it was, top of my head. Actually, would have been a Blue Mountain lager. So done up the starter with the slurry, which is this fella here. This has been on for 2.5 days. It was a 25ml slurry. I've done a 1 litre starter, which I've calculated out to give me about 180 billion cells, which is pretty much bang on what I need to do an 11 litre lager at lager temps. So just getting straight in, see if I can leave my stir bar behind. Get as much of that goodness in there as I can. All good, that's him done. and I'm going to ferment that at 11 degrees. 7-day ferment at 11. I'm going away this afternoon down the coast. By the time you've seen this, it's actually Tuesday. So this will be actually on for 5 days by that point. But 7 days at 11 degrees. I will then raise it for a diacetyl rest for 7 days at 16 degrees. It will then cold crash for 7 days at around 1-ish, and then I'm going to package it up. So 21-day ferment. I'm going on a strict lager ferment on this one, and the reason being because I want a full proper experimentation and comparison to this guy, Lutra. Now I'm doing the Lutra 1 packet dry, which is sufficient, and I'm going to ferment this just at ambient temperatures here on the garage floor. On the floor of the brewery, 1 pack of Lutra, in she goes, no rehydration, nothing like that, just straight in. You know, what every man and his dog's doing with it, just bang it in there and fermenting away. Now, this is the first of a few experiments I'm going to do with the Lutra. This one is happening at ambient because I want to see how it goes. How does it compare to a lager yeast? And how much quicker do we get through a ferment and in the bottles? And then obviously what does the resulting beer taste like? I will be doing a proper high temperature ferment with the Lutra down the track a little bit, but not just at the moment, because I really want to see what the ambient temperature is, because the big thing for me, if we're going to use Lutra or any Kviek yeast for brewing, it's taking away the need for temperature control, having fridges and all the rest of it. So it's about being able to just stick your fermenter down, whatever temperature it is, and make a brew. Now at the moment the temperature is relatively mild. It's probably only going to sit around about 18 degrees here in the garage. Yeah, 18 to 20 probably over the next week or so. It's actually started raining today. It's going to rain all, for the most of the next week, and the temperature is going to stay relatively steady. Tops of low 20s from the weekend onwards. 23s. So yeah, the garage will probably sit 18 to 20 for most of that time. Let's just see how the Lutra goes. I said I'm going to worry about that high temperature ferment down the track, because that's something completely different. If you're going to ferment Lutra at high temperatures, that means you've got temperature control. So the whole argument of Lutra as opposed to lager yeast is a bit pointless, because maybe it's quicker, but if you've got temperature control, why not do it properly? But that's something we're going to see down the track. For now, this is where she's going to go. Garage floor, proper lager temperatures, and we'll see what the differences are. So that's me, guys. Loaded Dog Lager 2021, slightly tweaked, underway. Questions, comments, throw them down the bottom. I know a few people have been asking if I've done the lager recipe yet, so that's for those people. You'd be glad to know it's underway. And I know there's a lot of people interested in the Lutra. If you've been using Lutra, I know it hasn't been available long, but if you have been using it, stick a comment down the bottom. Let us know how you're going with it, what your experiences are. Is it working for you? But that's me. Patreons, thumbs up, cheers guys for your support, thank you very much. Links down the bottom, hit it up if you're interested. Subscribe button down there, hit that if you haven't already. If you're not subscribed to Little John, and you should be. Third best channel on the internet. Hit it and give me a thumbs up. I like the thumbs up, and it helps the channel out, keeps us going. Alright guys, that's me, done. So, till I see you on the next brew. Obviously we're brewing beer, or we're drinking beer, or we're talking beer. Good brewing.